With 2025 right around the corner, if you're a buyer or seller in the GTA, I know the question is definitely on the top of your mind. Is next year going to be a better real estate market than we had in 2024? In today's video, I'm going to break down my 2025 real estate predictions for the Greater Toronto Area. We do these videos every single year. Some of the predictions hit, some of them don't. Feel free to go back and check out my 2024 predictions and let me know how bad they were. Let's get into the video here. I'm going to break down these predictions for you. If you're a first-time buyer, if you're a move-up buyer, hopefully a lot of these are going to hit home for you. I know there's a lot of questions out there, especially for people who are not currently in the real estate market. They're waiting for their opportunity to get into the market. And I hope throughout this video, I'm able to put you in a position where you understand what it's going to take to get yourself into the market in 2025 and whether it's ultimately worth doing so. And remember, if you want to talk about getting yourself into the real estate market in the GTA, you can always click the first link in the description box down below, book a one-on-one consultation call with me where we can figure out what the best plan for you and your family is in this real estate market. And if you're not interested in a one-on-one consultation just yet, feel free to text me, number here on screen in one of these bottom corners, and I'm happy to answer any of these real estate questions you might have. Now we're going to cover a few different points here. Stay tuned for the last couple points as I think they will hit home for a lot of us people who are looking to get into the market if you're not already there. Now the thing that everybody wants to know is, are we going to be stable in terms of the prices in the GTA? We've had some ups, we've had our downs in the last couple of years, so it's a very valid point that a lot of people are thinking about. I think right now the inventory, if you're looking at it online, it's showing that we have a lot of condos available. However, I've had this conversation with a lot of people. The condos that are currently available are not the most desirable condos. Any of these condos that are out there that are really perfect layouts, they're situated in a good location, they're still moving at a pretty good price and a pretty good pace. So you're gonna have to keep that in mind. Although the condo inventory is high, which we are constantly seeing articles about, tons of condo inventory, you know, you should be absolutely worried about it. A lot of these units aren't what you would be interested in, and they're not what I would ultimately be wanting my client to purchase for the longevity of them using it and for the resale purpose side of things. So stability in terms of price, I think we are actually going to be fairly stable. Although the Bank of Canada is lowering rates and they've continued to do so on the variable side since June, I believe was our first rate decrease, we still have a lot of affordability issues in Ontario specifically, even across Canada. So the mortgage side of it is just one small portion that we're trying to get under control. You've seen this roller coaster the last couple of years, and it's all been built based off of these interest rates. Like, they've taken us to the sky high peaks of over 7% on the variable side. Now we're getting down under 6%. It's been a little bit of a roller coaster, and hopefully as this starts to level out, we see the demand of the buyers coming back to the market and the sellers feeling more comfortable to put their houses on the market. Ultimately, if you're in a really good neighborhood right now, the demand is okay. If you're in King West or if you're in the Annex, you're gonna see slower price growth because these areas specifically, we have already seen these massive growth. But if you're on the outskirts, something like an Oshawa or a Milton, maybe the stability is not quite there. Maybe there's still some growth to be had in either of these areas because the prices have come down slightly. When you ask, is it gonna be more stable? You need to ask, where is it going to become more stable? Ultimately, that is a very important thing to bring up. Now, as a buyer or a seller, there's different strategies that you can have here. So if you are being strategic as a buyer, you're going to narrow yourself down to a specific area that you want to be in. You don't have to say specific building necessarily, specific street, although you can, and that's going to make your process a little bit more easy in terms of waiting for something to come up, but a little bit more difficult in terms of how long am I actually going to have to wait. But be strategic when you are buying. Find a building that's in a good location, that maybe the optimism is there for the price to actually go up in the future based on what we're seeing in the other buildings that are in the area, other homes that are in the area. If you're thinking of selling your home right now, stable prices may not excite you all that much. But at the end of the day, if you're selling a home, you're likely purchasing something on the other side, so you're going to be able to take advantage of it on the purchase side of things. Now, if you are selling your home, of course, there's a couple specifics that are important for you. You need to make sure in a market that's stable that you price your home correctly. The last thing you want to do is go ahead and overprice your home, and then you're just going to be sitting there with nobody coming through the front door, and you'll eventually have to drop the price lower than you may have actually listed it competitively in the first place. You also want to make sure your home is staged. You want a beautifully shown and staged home. It's going to attract more people coming through your front door to give you the price that you're looking for. Although at the end of the day, stabilized does not mean boring, does not mean stagnant. I think people are just looking for less of the roller coaster and more of just a wave. So I hope and I think that 2025 is going to bring us just that. The second thing and the second prediction is going to be revolved around interest rates. It has been the most popular talk of the town in the real estate industry for the last 24 months now. So the big question is, where are we going to see rates over the next 12 months? I believe we are going to see the Bank of Canada make a couple more rate reductions. By the time we hit summer of 2025, we are going to see that variable rate under 5%, getting very close to what these fixed rates are at. Obviously, I'm not an economist. I don't know what else is going to happen in the world. There's a lot of other things that we have to take into consideration. We also have the US presidential election that has finished, but Donald Trump will take office in January. How does that affect things that are happening here in Canada? We'll have to wait and see. So my prediction is we will see a 1-point reduction in 2025 for the variable rate. On the fixed side of things, it's not been the best. We haven't seen them reduce all that much. I do think come January 2026, we are going to be talking about variable being the optimal choice for that interest rate for you as a first-time buyer or a renewal on your mortgage. So I think variable is going to become the popular choice once again, although the last couple of years, fixed has definitely been the go-to because of all of these increases. I think it is going to take another switch. So what can you do? If you are a home buyer, what you need to do is get pre-approved, figure out what the market looks like for you on the purchase price side of things based on what your approval is. If you're not quite able to get what you need, know that it's very likely you're going to get some reductions in the interest rates coming up. However, if you're trying to qualify for a home, you might still be just qualifying under the fixed rate. So the variable, although that might come down and get close to the fixed, you're still qualifying under that fixed rate, which means your affordability and your, at the end of the day, that optimal purchase price that you're able to afford from the bank is going to be the same. So until that variable dips under the fixed rate, you're not going to see a change in what your approvals are. So keep an eye, if you're one of the fixed rate, keep an eye on those bond yields. See if they are going to dip down, get that fixed rate a little bit better for us. But variable rate is coming hard and fast to match up with ultimately that fixed rate and hopefully to dip below it. Now, the second thing you can do if you're a buyer is just do your absolute darnest to come up with a higher down payment. It's tough to do. I know a lot of us have a second job, or you're trying to figure out where you can come up with some extra cash, line of credit, investments. There's a lot of different avenues that people take. We get a lot of people that are getting money from their parents, although it's not my favorite. It is something that we see a lot of times in this specific market. So there's a couple options for you as buyers, but just understand the market itself is pretty stable. We're not seeing the prices go up or down, at least not in my last prediction there. So we'll have to see what we get throughout the course of the next 12 months. If you're a seller, be cautious with buyers. Understand that even though you want a specific price for your house, it just might not be something that people can qualify for. At the end of the day, if you think your home is worth $900,000, your buyer pool might be a lot smaller than you were hoping, and 900,000 could easily become 875 to 850, depending on what that activity is like when people are coming in and out of your home. Sellers, the next thing that's very important for you is the timing. If you're trying to maximize and squeeze every bit of money out of your listing, put it on the market when the best time possible is. Generally, we got two of those markets. Hasn't always been the case the last couple of years, but there's a spring and a fall market. Spring market, maybe end of April, beginning of May, all the way to the end of June, and then again September to the end of October. These are two of our hotter real estate markets in the GTA. So if you're not in a rush, hold out for the spring market because you'll have buyers coming out after winter hibernation and you're going to be able to show your property in its best light. A lot of the homes out there, the best way to show them off is just generally not when it's snow, cold, and dark outside. The third prediction that I want to talk about here is the inventory. Will the inventory increase at all? I think this is a twofold question. Ultimately, yes, I think the inventory will increase. What kind of inventory is a better question. We've got inventory of bad quality condos that aren't going to move all that quickly. That's going to build up. We've got new builds and new developments that hopefully they're able to get some projects started, and I think we might be able to get a little bit more out of those than we have in the past couple of years here. And then there's the resale side of things. This is a tricky one because if you own a detached home right now, you're likely only selling for one of two reasons. To downsize, because maybe you've been there, your kids have moved out, or you're looking to upsize your home. Like a lot of my clientele, they've got a smaller townhouse potentially or a smaller detached, and they need something a little bit bigger for their family. Maybe their kids are growing up, or maybe they've had more kids than they anticipated. So these are the two types of people who are moving, but they're not moving as frequently as a first-time home buyer who's maybe in their first home for 3 to 5 years. And obviously those first-time home buyers can't afford these detached or the semi-detached right out the bat. So that means that the condos are generally for them. Not always, but generally. So what type of inventory do I think is going to increase? I still think it's going to be on that condo and potentially townhouse side of things. I don't think all of a sudden there's going to be an influx of detached homes hitting the market, because a lot of those people are there for the long haul. They're not just trying to make a quick buck on their house. Their life situation is a little bit more stable. Their kids might be in schools where they've made connections, they've got friends. So you're not going to move out of these areas particularly easy. On the other side, if you're in a condo, you don't have a family, maybe you're just on your own, your first place, there's a lot more potential that you're going to move and bounce around within the real estate market. So I think, yes, inventory will go up in the next 12 months, but I think it is still going to be on the condo or townhouse side of things. Who does this benefit? Ultimately, it's going to benefit the first-time home buyers and those move-up buyers. More inventory on that side of things doesn't necessarily help somebody who's looking to downsize or, a bigger family of four necessarily. So those homes are going to hold their values pretty tight. So if you're trying to sell a detached home, maybe call it a 4-bedroom detached, I think those values are going to be pretty solid over the next 12 months. And if you're trying to sell a condo, if more inventory comes to the market, you might have to just price your condo more competitively to make sure that you can sell it and not hold on to it for too long and have to go through all these price reductions to find that specific buyer. Be patient. Ultimately, selling your home or buying a home is going to be a very difficult thing to do, whether it's financially or just finding the right buyer in this specific market. So be patient, go into it with a longer outlook in terms of how long it's going to take to get things done on the sales side of things. If you think it's going to be sold in a week, you're only going to be disappointed if it takes 30 days to sell, which is the current average. Now, my next prediction here is that the housing demand in the Greater Toronto Area is not going to disappear. Although for a lot of people, it just doesn't seem like it's a possibility in the future. The dream of home ownership is something that a lot of Canadians and a lot of people that live in Ontario are constantly going to bring up. It's not something that they want to just bypass and just say, I will stick with being a renter or a tenant for the rest of my life. A lot of them have the dream or the aspiration to become a homeowner. So what I think this is going to do is, if they can no longer afford to do this in the GTA, I think they are going to make their transition to the outskirts. Maybe they go out to Waterloo, maybe Niagara, maybe they go up to Barrie. I think the dream of home ownership is enough for people to really make a drastic move in terms of distance from maybe where they work. This might require them changing a job, doing things that are going to be a little bit more unorthodox in the real estate market. But the dream of home ownership will make you go crazy in some cases. You have a bunch of different options if you're looking to get into the real estate market. Of course, your first home can be purchased with a friend. It can be purchased with a family member. It can be an investment property. So you don't necessarily just have to have all your own money and buy your house by yourself. There are multiple different ways for you to tackle this, but I think the dream of home ownership is not going to die. We're going to continue to just have that dream live on. But because of that, I think we are going to see people stretching further outside of the GTA to make that possible for themselves. Now, if that sounds like that's going to be you in 2025, what you want to do is focus on the areas where it's going to be good access to get back into the city. So something like a Hamilton or a Barrie where you can hop on a train or get the transit is going to make your life a lot easier, because you still might have a lot of ties that are in the GTA. You're going to want your access to be fairly easy. Now, if you keep going north, if you're going all the way up to Mississauga, for example, it's going to make your life a little bit more difficult, or to Collingwood. So think about getting back to the GTA when you are thinking about leaving the GTA, in terms of picking a location to make sure that that is an option for you. Alternatively, you may not necessarily need to leave the GTA. Maybe you can find something that the rent gap versus the ownership gap makes sense. Home ownership is important for everybody if they want to own a home, but not everybody should own a home. Some people are just not in the financial position where it makes sense to do right now, and that's completely fine. So maybe that is the situation that you might be in, and if that is you, find something that's an affordable rental option. Continue to save up and build the down payment that you have, and then you can make your transition to get into home ownership down the road. So there you have it. Those are my top predictions for the 2025 GTA real estate market. I think people are going to be forced to leave the GTA. I think ultimately we're going to see more condo and more townhouse inventory hit the market. And I think that these interest rates are finally going to balance themselves out in your favor if you're a home buyer. And I think the prices ultimately are going to be stable. If you're hoping for a home crash, or if you're hoping for the real estate market to crash rather, maybe it's coming. I just don't think it's in 2025. I don't even think it's in 2026, to be honest with you. I think there's a lot going on in Canada and in Ontario, and a lot of people have their life savings just tied up in their properties, and it would be absolutely devastating. You might be watching this video thinking, yeah, but it'd be a great opportunity to buy more housing, and that's true. But I don't think Canada would allow it. I think the Bank of Canada would mess around with the rates as much as they ultimately need to make sure that that is not the case. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you want to chat one-on-one, you can text me at the number here on screen. And if you don't want to do that, click the first link in the description box down below. Book a one-on-one consultation call with me, and we can talk about making that move for you in 2025. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.